he isn't a superhero in the traditional sense. You know, he might have a cape, but he can't fly. He's like you and me, but if he has a superpower, it's the ability to endure. And not only the ability, but the kind of compulsion. But it's about the early days of how he is Batman, and he is so far from being perfect. And watch us sort of see him becoming what we all know about him and see it in new ways. I felt like that was a way to do something that hadn't been done, and that was really what I was excited to be able to do in this iteration.
What is up, people of the Bat family? Welcome to a brand new video on the upcoming The Batman movie. And it's been around just over 3 months, I believe, since I made another installment into this series of, you know, where it involves you guys. That's what I love about making these videos, because when it comes to being really excited for this upcoming vision from Matt Reeves in the Batman movie, there's so much to speculate about, even just based from a trailer or the things he said at DC Fandom, like you saw at the beginning of this video, which will tie into one of your questions later on. If you're brand new here, what we do is you guys send in your theories, your speculation, and hey, you watch me on this channel, and I guess you want to hear my thoughts about it, and I love expressing my thoughts, and then you guys, in turn, take my thoughts back at you, and you comment on them in the comment section, and yeah, that's kind of how it goes, and just enjoy, I guess, because if you didn't figure out already, these videos are kind of long, deliberately so. Look at it like a podcast kind of format, and just a hangout session discussion video, but I will be putting this into multiple parts, because the amount of screenshots I got with your guys' questions, let's just put it down to there's a ton. All I want to say is at the start of this video, just in case some of you don't make it towards the end, because I usually like to save this for then, go ahead and like this video if you want to see more of this. I will upload part 2 very soon if you guys are really enjoying this. So yeah, let's get into question number 1 from Lord of Shadows. Good to see you, Lord of Shadows. Thank you for posting your comment today. Do you think if Matt Reeves does his own Batman trilogy, we will get more different members of Batman's rogues gallery, or he will just stick with the well-known ones? I think Matt Reeves is going to kind of do a blend of both of what you're saying. I don't think he is going to be the type of director and person who's obviously got such creative control over this movie. It's his movie, to just be like, let's do what Nolan did. Let's do what all the other films did and have Bane come in as the main film, or the Joker for the second film. I'm not disregarding those characters, by the way, because I can't confirm or deny that. But I feel like Matt Reeves is gonna bring in popular characters. So, for example, this first movie, right, is centered mainly around Edward Nashton, the Riddler, who will become Edward Nigma. Yes, his name is Edward Nashton. The amount of people I get a comment saying, that's not his name. What, Boba? Are you an idiot? What? But don't forget that just because the Riddler is poised up to be this kind of overall antagonist, you could say, of this movie, it's also got to do a lot of world building in the background with other characters as well. Matt Reeves has said this himself. Other characters will be in this movie, which will kind of serve as a platter to the second and third installment, I'm sure. So back to your main question there, like, will we get different members of Batman's rogues gallery? I guess maybe lesser known ones, maybe like the ventriloquist. I don't want to rule ones like that out, because I feel like Matt Reeves really can bring in other characters like that, which are a little less popular to that of, I don't know, Scarecrow. But I think there's going to be a blend of both. We're going to have to wait and see. But I don't think he's going to put it or serve it up to an extent where there's too many characters. I don't really have any worry about that. I feel like, just like this first movie, the Riddler will be the main antagonist, but you may see cracks of like Firefly out there or something like that, who may not have as much of a presence, but it kind of adds to the life and breath of villainy that is existing and thriving and beginning to thrive, especially at year 2 in Gotham. So we got question number 2 from Lolling Marcus 9. Which Alfred do you think Andy Serkis will most be like? So far, you know, the only part in the trailer that we've got of Alfred, which was kind of surprising because I thought maybe Reeves would have shown his face, but they decided not to, which is fair enough. But all we did get is a line. You can't really read too much into that. It's typical British accented kind of Andy Serkis saying you're becoming quite the celebrity, which is true, because I think not only is Batman in year 2 in this movie getting more recognized, he's starting to get more known, but I like to think that Bruce Wayne as well is getting more known, even though I don't think Bruce Wayne is going to be as prominent in this movie as Batman is. Funnily enough, because the movie's called The Batman. But of course, we have the duality to that character. But I do think it's going to be mainly Batman stuff. I think it's going to be most like Sean Pertwee. There will be a blend of Alfreds, of course, with their own stamp on it. I think the progression of Alfred, if you've paid attention to like the Batman progression and evolution throughout its history. And this isn't actually necessarily unique to the Batman. Look at a similar example to Aunt May. She starts off older, younger, getting younger, kind of something like that. It's a similar yet weird analogy to Alfred. You get the old Alfred's very, very old in the 80s films and 90s, and then, it gets into freaking Michael Caine, and younger and younger and younger, but not young to the point where he's freaking Bruce's best mate in terms of the similar age. So I think Alfred, knowing how old Andy Serkis is, and how he is kind of still fit and healthy and in decent physique, I mean, just look at his role in Black Panther, for crying out loud. Obviously, he's not going to be looking deliberately as youthful there. I think they will give him a bit of rough and gruff makeup to make him in between Sean Pertwee and in between Michael Caine. That's the best way to put it. So, Sean Pertwee, fun fact, if you didn't notice about me, he's my favorite Alfred, coming from Fox's Gotham. Now, say what you will about Fox's Gotham, but their Alfred was impeccable. Not too old, not too young, but the kind of Alfred who isn't just purely butler type. There's a lot of character background into him. So if you're watching Pennyworth, you know there's a lot more to Alfred. Or even if you don't watch Pennyworth and you're a comics reader, Alfred did a lot back in the day. He can handle himself. That doesn't mean that Michael Caine's Alfred didn't do that. He might just be old to the point where he can't offer the same kind of assistance that this Alfred will, or what the Fox's Gotham Alfred did. Like Sean Pertwee was more hands-on, he helped Bruce out a lot, and I feel like with what Matt Reeves is doing, long story short here to answer your question, it's going to make Andy Serkis's Alfred very like Sean Pertwee's, not only in kind of attitude, but being more hands-on. He's going to be the one who helped Bruce frickin' put everything together. He's going to be the one who helped Bruce put together the Batmobile. Sure, this Bruce Wayne is most likely capable of doing that himself, but you get what I'm trying to say. He's a lot more rough and gruff. I wouldn't be surprised if this Alfred is neither here nor there with Bruce's crusade, if you know what I mean. I don't know if he's going to fully approve of it, but he might come around by the end of the movie kind of thing. And to bleed into that kind of relationship I'm getting into now, I think they're going to have more of a brotherly relationship, an older brother one. I think Alfred will still be parental, just like how it kind of is after he took Bruce in and raised him after the Wayne's deaths. However, I think he will be more of the uncly kind of, he's not going to be so polite to Bruce. He will tell him how it is, and I can't wait to see that explored. So if a lot of you watched Gotham's Alfred, Sean Pertwee, imagine if Bruce was like Robert Pattinson's age, and Sean Pertwee was a couple of years older, and then they had that relationship, like a much older Bruce who's become a man, who's out there as Batman, talking to a much more hands-on Alfred. I freaking love that vision, and I know Andy Serkis is going to kill it. Trust me. You may not be sold on it right now, but trust me on this one. He's going to kill it. Next question's from Blitz saying, do you see Batman winning in the end of the movie, or do you see him being defeated, I guess, and having to learn and come back stronger for the next film? Well, I think it's a bit of it's kind of a mixed bag. So, yes, I could say that Riddler's going to be maybe apprehended, locked up at Blackgate or something like that, but there still remains at the end of film this can of worms that's been opened. Sure, Batman is here in the first place, as Matt Reeves said himself. Like, he's here because Gotham ain't good. We all know that. It's this criminological experiment, and he even said himself he might not be getting the kind of results he kind of wants to see, and he hasn't been thus far, up until when we see him in the movie. So when you phrase to me, will we see Batman winning by the end of the movie, or will we have him being defeated and having to learn to come back and stronger and whatnot? He, as Matt Reeves said himself, is far from perfect. So yes, we will see him, I guess, win in a matter of speaking through the Riddler, I guess, the murders stopping, the Riddler being apprehended, but revelations will be made. Gotham's corruption will be truly revealed, and Bruce's family and his place in that will be linked to that, and he's going to go through such an epiphany and I think kind of Ragnarok of his own that he's going to have to come to terms with. And as I said, back to the can of worms thing, it will expose so many more layers that he always knew that was there, but now it's kind of like Pandora's box. It's just so much more messier. So yeah, Bruce, you kind of apprehended the Riddler. Well done. Great job. But what will come out of this movie is going to set up even more seeds for the Batman to have to deal with. So let's say Falcone dies, and this sets up the Penguin to have truly the throne of Gotham's mob kind of, underworld. That will lead into a lot of problems for the second movie. So yeah, I think it's a mixed bag, as I said, with what you're saying. Even though there will be success, he will have to go back and learn and come back even stronger for the next film. And I think he will be stronger by the end of the first movie, which is why the title of this movie is called The Batman. Yes, he is Batman. Yes, he is going out there. But has he really become the Dark Knight? Not necessarily. But I want to kind of lead this over to Matt Reeves in terms of what he said. I feel really kind of helps understand where Bruce is at, how he's far from perfect. And yes, even though there will be success in this movie, there is a lot more to come and a lot more for him to kind of reconcile with his own mission, his own motivations, his own place, what he thought was going on, what is really going on with his family history, and how he's going to have to come to terms with that. But yeah, Matt, you freaking take this one.
One of the things that I think is interesting is learning how to be Batman. You know, the whole idea, this is all an experiment in the movie. The idea is that we're in year 2. It's the Gotham experiment. It's a criminological experiment. He's trying to figure out sort of what he can do that can finally change this place. And in our story, as he's in that mode, that's where you meet him and you see that he is charting what he's doing, and he's seeing that he's not having any of the effect that he wants to have yet. And that is when the murders start to happen, and then the murders begin to describe sort of the history of Gotham in a way that only reinforces what he knows about Gotham, but it opens up a whole new world of corruption that went much farther. But as that story starts to come out, without being an origin tale for him, it ends up being something that touches on his origins. So you start to see that as it starts to describe this epic history of corruption in Gotham, that you start to understand, well, where did my family sit in that? At the end of it, it also is incredibly personal for him, even though it is the story in which he's trying to understand and unravel this mystery.
So Saud Khalid asks, do you think this new version of Riddler could be iconic, like Heath Ledger's Joker, because Paul Dano is such an amazing actor and really has the potential of winning an Oscar? It's very hard to forecast that in some respects, because obviously Heath Ledger, as you said, is iconic, but I do agree with you. Paul Dano is impeccable. If you've seen any of his movies, guys, he is going to be great as the Riddler. The casting's perfect. Whether that's Prisoners, which really shows this raw, very disturbing but impeccable acting-wise performances from not only Hugh Jackman, Jake Gyllenhaal, but also Paul Dano. And you can take his performance from that. I'm not saying he's going to copy and paste it, but envision what he could be like as the Riddler when Bruce is maybe face to face with him. So if you've seen Prisoners, you know that scene where Hugh Jackman is about to do that thing, but he kind of hits the wall instead, and we have like Paul Dano just kind of like freaking out, can't talk much. I don't want to give the whole movie away with his background there. And obviously the Riddler's going to be different, but I could seriously imagine Batman ripping off his face mask that he's got, the kind of Zodiac killer get up that he's got, and man, he might be tempted to kill him. But that is something I kind of want to see be explored in the movie, albeit without the killing, which I'll get into in a future question. But yeah, I think it could be very iconic. I think the Batman, especially with the way that Matt Reeves is tackling it, definitely could be a contender for Oscars in multiple categories. And I have confidence in saying that because just like Joker, it's not like your typical MCU Thor Ragnarok movie, or maybe Wonder Woman 1984, where, yeah, Warner Brothers might submit them for Oscars, but like, yeah, I can't really take that seriously. But when there's a movie with this vision and this tone and this lens on it, which is far removed from the kind of more fantastical side, albeit there's going to be fantastical elements that I believe Matt Reeves will include, like he could do Clayface and stuff. But you get what I'm trying to say. This definitely has the kind of picture view for an Oscar nomination, and Paul Dano could be that. The soundtrack could be that. Anything could be that, to be honest. So Manuel Castillo says, what is something you do not want to see in the Batman? I think I've answered this before in a previous video, but it's Bruce killing, Batman killing. I don't want to see it. I don't mind if this whole movie, it's not the whole movie is about that, but something he comes to terms with how imperfect he is, like Reeves has said, is he wants to kill so desperately sometimes, but he is almost in such anguish because he knows how that will make him just as bad as the people who killed his parents, the people he's trying to stop. So you get what I'm trying to say, but he comes through the other end. He's not going to do it. I think that is fundamental. Now, I included questions like this just because I feel like it's so obvious to me, but I feel like there's other people out there who think that things like this could be a possibility, but I feel like I have such confidence things like this won't happen with the larger multiverse in the DCEU, despite Flashpoint. So Jocknado here says, if Warner Brothers asked Matt Reeves if he could make his own Justice League movie with Robert, do you think that he'll accept it? No. Not at all, no. Like, that's just not gonna happen. Like, Matt Reeves' universe, very self-contained little bubble. Even if you want to introduce a Justice League within that Earth 2 bubble and what's going on there, no, I really don't think so. This is very character-focused, very point-of-view driven. Even in the second and third movie, I'm very sure it's going to maintain that direction, and so no, definitely not to stuff like that. Question from the Lord of Shadows: do you think that we will see the Penguin use his iconic umbrella weapons in this version or not? You know what? I really wouldn't be surprised. Just going off how accurate Colin Farrell is, the amount of prosthetics he's got that's made him look very, very much so unrecognizable and very much so like the Penguin. I don't think it's far-fetched at all. This is what I mean. I think Matt Reeves is going to have such a grounded, realistic aspect to these films in a similar way to Nolan's, but not as like that Chicago. Like, there's definitely going to be, as he said himself, Gotham is like a city that you'll recognize in some places, but it will also be different in another place with aspects from another city in America, parts of the UK where they filmed. Do you see what I mean? So like, it's going to be grounded, but you will have like literally a gun and an umbrella. I'm not confirming that obviously, but I wouldn't be surprised at all. But I also expect to see the more fantastical villains, even in this grounded world, like they could easily pull off Mr. Freeze. So I think it could arguably be the most grounded adaptation of the Batman ever done, yet also involving the more out there characters and I guess gadgety things as well. I especially that, to be honest. So Tyler Mazzuto says, do you think the Joker will ever be in a movie with Robert's Batman? If yes, do you think a brand new Joker? By the way, love the videos. Thank you, Tyler. Yes. I really do think he will be in a movie with Robert Pattinson's Batman. I think there may be a lot of expectations from people that if, let's just say, it did get out that Joker is 100% in it, that means, oh my god, he's going to be a big role. I don't think it's going to be that. I think it's going to lean more into the sides of where Joker could already be in Arkham, for example. If you want to know exactly how or why, I can't necessarily give you the writing plots and points as to how he ended up in Arkham. This is year 2, don't forget. So that doesn't necessarily mean that the Joker and Batman have this grand, romanticized, almost relationship, like the dance they have back and forth in the comics. But it doesn't mean that Joker won't be in it to set up a little bit of seeds for maybe where he breaks out in movie 2 or movie 3. The drops, for example, there's popular theories going online where the drops are very much so attributed to the Joker, and that might give him that hideous look. Could be like a very beta version of his laughing, gassy, kind of trippy drug drop eye things. That it's really out there, but really getting to the question that you're asking me here, I'm very confident that Joker will be in this trilogy, 100%, even the first movie. But I don't think if you're getting excited by that, don't expect too much. It'll be very ambiguous. You might have Bruce going to see him. And why am I saying that? Just linking in the wide popular theories online, maybe with all of these adverts in Gotham, like you've seen me cover before, with the advert saying, do you need help stopping drops or something from Gotham's health department, because so many citizens are getting hooked on this. He might go visit him because he might know who's distributing it now or something. I don't know, but I definitely think he'll be in it. I don't think Matt Reeves wants to lean on him. He doesn't want to have any reliance on him for popularity in the movies, not until he's ready to deliver that story. This will be more about the character of the Batman in kind of a character study sense, a point of view story, truly through the eyes of Batman, more noir-y Batman, like we've always wanted to see. So it's not going to rely on Joker. We will get to him. He's going to maybe be there in the first movie for like a little bit of, I guess, like how it's been teased that all of Batman's rogues gallery is already out there. It's not an origin tale, as Reeves said himself as well. But stuff in the story, like the corruption on Gotham, will touch on his origin. So whilst it's not an origin, there will be aspects that do touch on the origin. For example, maybe his family and how they're linked to the corruption. But also there may be touches to maybe like a reference from the Joker in a line of events that happened way before the first movie. Like things like that. So that's what I'm trying to get from my brain to yours. I definitely think we'll see him. I think it's likely even we will see him in the first movie, but don't expect too much. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I've got so many more questions. Like, how many suits do I think Robert Pattinson's Batman will have? When are we going to get another teaser trailer? When do I think that could happen? This year? Do I think that Riddler knows Batman's secret? I want to get to those, but today I'm going to keep this to part 1. But if you want to see part 2, let me know down in the comments below. And of course, like this video. If you got this far in the video, prove it along with whatever else you want to type in the comments section by starting off with hashtag I'm Vengeance. If you want to stay more up to date with me, I do have a Discord server. Links to that are in the top pinned comment, along with my Twitter. I really recommend following me on Twitter if you have a Twitter account. If you want to support the channel further as well, I do have a Patreon. I do have a join button on the channel as well, which gives you Discord perks and stuff like exclusive ranks that make you stand out and whatnot. On top of being credited at this part of the video, and special thanks to each one of the people who've supported the channel and gone the extra mile. More Batman content coming along the way. Not only that, especially as we're getting closer and closer to the release date. Less than 1 year now. Less than a year. So yeah, expect coverage. Make sure you're subscribed with notifications on and set to all, just to make sure you never miss out on a crucial update, because of course I'm going to cover it as of when there is something damn breaking. And yeah, thank you so much for watching. I hope you all have a lovely rest of your day, and I'll see you members of the Bat family in the next video. Goodbye.